The year is 1856. A French naturalist named Henry Mouat is pushing through the jungles of Cambodia. He's not an archaeologist. He's not looking for lost cities. He's collecting insects, butterflies, beetles, anything that flies or crawls. The jungle is hot, wet, and full of things that bite. He has no idea what's waiting for him. Then the jungle opens, and he forgets about butterflies. In front of him, rising from the green, are stone towers, massive, carved with faces that seem to watch him. Local monks tend to cite. They've known he was here for centuries. But for Mouat, for Europe, this is impossible. A temple like this shouldn't exist in the middle of nowhere. What Mouat found was Angkor Wat, a temple so beautiful, so massive, that he couldn't believe his eyes. Walls covered in carvings, galleries longer than cathedrals, faces smiling from every corner. He wrote in his journal, "These ruins are grander than anything left to us by Greece or Rome." He didn't know he was looking at just one building. The question haunted him. Who built this? How? And why was it empty? The jungle was taking it back. Trees grew through walls. Roots split stones. It looked like the end of a story. But Mouat couldn't know. The temple was just the title page. The real book was still buried, waiting to be opened. For decades, everyone thought Angkor Wat was alone, a lonely temple in the jungle. But then, slowly, explorers started noticing things. Mounds in the earth, straight lines under the trees, canals that went nowhere. They realized the temple wasn't alone. It was the center of something huge, something that was just beginning to wake up. Today, we know the truth. Angkor Wat was just one piece of the largest city the medieval world ever built. 1 million people lived here, and then they vanished. The temple stayed, but the city became a ghost. Someone stands at the edge of the jungle, looking into the green. Somewhere in there, under the trees, 1 million stories are waiting. After Mouat's journals were published, Europe marveled at the temple, but questions lingered. Where did the stones come from? Who carved the faces? A temple doesn't appear from nowhere. Somewhere, there had to be a city. But for decades, the jungle kept its secret. The temple stood alone, or so everyone believed. Then explorers started noticing oddities. Beneath the jungle, the land wasn't natural. Mounds in perfect rows, straight lines where nature should be chaotic. Someone had shaped this earth before the trees came. At first, no one understood what they were seeing. A mound is just a mound, unless you dig. In the late 20th century, NASA pointed its satellites at Cambodia, not looking for temples, looking for water patterns. What they found changed everything. Beneath the trees, hidden for centuries, a grid appeared. Roads, canals, reservoirs. The temple was not alone. It was the center of something vast. The scale was staggering. Angkor covered 1,000 square kilometers, larger than any modern city at the time. Streets, plazas, canals, reservoirs, all planned with precision. This wasn't a temple in the jungle. This was a metropolis hidden under the trees. 1 million people lived here, and no one knew for 400 years. Archaeologist Dr. Sarah Williams explains, "What we found rewrote history. This wasn't just a city. It was a hydraulic empire. They didn't just live near water, they controlled it. Every drop was measured, stored, directed. Water was their blood, and when the blood stopped flowing, the city died." We know where they lived. We know how their city looked. But the question remains, how did 1 million people survive in the middle of the jungle? No trucks, no machines, no modern medicine. The answer is hidden in the water, and it's more terrifying than you imagine. To understand how 1,000,000 people survived in the jungle, you have to follow the water. The Khmer didn't just build a city. They built a hydraulic machine. Canals longer than the Nile. Reservoirs larger than anything in the ancient world. Every drop was measured, stored, directed. Water was their blood, and the city was the body. No machines, no steel, no concrete. Just human muscle. Millions of tons of earth moved by hand. Sandstone for the temples came from a quarry 35 kilometers away. They floated it down specially built canals. This wasn't brute force. This was genius. And it kept 1,000,000 people alive. How do you feed 1,000,000 mouths? Rice, 3 harvests a year, thanks to irrigation. Fish from the canals. Vegetables from the fields. The city grew its own food inside its own borders. It was a closed system, self-sufficient. For centuries, it worked. But closed systems are fragile. One crack and everything breaks. At the top, the God King. Below him, priests and nobles. Below them, soldiers and officials. And at the bottom, millions of farmers and slaves. Some slaves were prisoners of war. Others sold themselves for debt. They built the temples, dug the canals, worked the fields. Their sweat made the city breathe. Dr. Sorpong Kim, a historian of ancient Cambodia, explains the system was brilliant. It allowed 1,000,000 people to thrive in the jungle. But it had one fatal flaw. It depended entirely on the climate. 1 decade without rain, and the whole machine would start to fail. They didn't know that their enemy wasn't a neighboring kingdom. It was the sky. For centuries, the system worked. Rain came, rice grew. The city breathed. But in the 14th century, something shifted. The rains stopped coming on time. The canals ran dry. The reservoirs emptied. The machine that had kept 1,000,000 people alive began to choke. And no one knew why. The canals had never run dry. For centuries, they carried life through the city. But one year, the water didn't come. Then another, and another. Children ran to the banks, expecting to see their reflection. Instead, they saw mud and cracks and silence. The rice fields turned yellow, then brown, then dust. Families gathered what little they could. A handful of grain, a dried root, a rat found dead on the road. They cooked it, shared it, pretended it was enough. Their bodies grew thinner. Their eyes grew wider. Their hope grew smaller. People began to leave, not in crowds, not in panic. One by one, families with everything they owned on a single cart. Old people who couldn't walk, left behind. The road out of the city was long and dusty. No one looked back. No one had the strength to look back. They prayed every day, every night. They offered incense, food, flowers. They begged the gods to speak. But the gods were stone. They had always been stone. Only now, in the silence, everyone could see it. The gods didn't answer. They never had. Then the jungle began to move, slowly at first. A vine on a wall, a root under a stone. The city had kept it back for centuries. Now there was no one left to fight. The green swallowed the stone like water, swallowing a whisper. Angkor was becoming a ghost. But not everyone left. Some stayed, refusing to abandon their home, refusing to accept that it was over. They lived among the ruins, ate what the jungle gave, prayed to gods who no longer listened. One by one, they too vanished, until only one remained. He stood at the edge of the jungle and looked back one last time. Angkor didn't fall to an enemy. It fell to itself. A million people built a paradise and then watched it die because they couldn't stop changing the world around them. They didn't know what they were doing. We do. The question is, are we listening?